You're listening to the smartest guys in marketing, the best show on the planet for client businesses to learn about traffic, funnels, sales, conversions, and marketing coolness. Chris and Taylor are the founders of Traffic and Funnels, a digital marketing consultancy helping you get paid clients from cold traffic daily. Now, here are your hosts, Chris and Taylor.
One of the things I've been thinking about, and I want to ask you this question today, is what are you sacrificing? What are you sacrificing? My question isn't, are you sacrificing? My question is, what are you sacrificing? I find that most people who say or they believe that they aren't sacrificing anything are usually disconnected from reality, or they're in serious danger of becoming stagnant. And there's a great book on this called Choosing to Cheat, if you've ever heard of it. It's by a guy named Andy Stanley. It's called Choosing to Cheat. And basically, this book proposes that at every point in your life, you're cheating something. In one season, it could be that you are cheating time with your family. In another season, it could be that you're cheating your health. Another season, it could be that you're cheating your business or your work. You could be cheating your friends or your relationships. And the moral of the story is that you're always going to be cheating something, somewhere, someplace, for some period of time. And the beauty of the life that we get to lead, especially as entrepreneurs, is we get to choose. We get to choose. Now, it's one thing if you're cheating something, or if you're robbing something from some area of your life, but you don't have a choice. That's called slavery. And obviously, that's a terrible thing. And that's not freedom. But I see entrepreneurs getting caught up in this trap every day of thinking that one day they're going to arrive at a place where they won't have to cheat anything, where they'll have it all. You see these slogans, how to have it all. How to have it all, as if that makes any sense. One day I'll have it all. One day it will be easy. But 100% of the time, this becomes an unmet expectation to you, and you will get fatigued by the lack of perspective, and ultimately something bad will happen and you will bow out of the game because it wasn't supposed to be this way. There is no reality that you are going to arrive to where you're not having to cheat some area, where you're not having to make some sacrifice somewhere in the effort to get what you want. We talk about this sometimes from time to time. We call it the thrill of the push. If you're a human, and hopefully if you're attending this, you are a human, you are wired to put a hand to a plow and push. You're wired for it. You cannot be happy without it. And I told the story about how even, not even humans, but even animals will die if not given proper incentive for living, which most of the time is survival, fighting, pushing. We're going to go deep today. I hope you guys are okay. I hope I'm not scaring you away. And well, Taylor, this sounds really negative. This isn't what I came here for. This sounds very negative. Well, okay. I get that. But I'm just going to put this out there. And I think that accurate thinking should be what you came here for. I think that hopefully you came here for the ability to think properly, and in doing so, create momentum for your life, momentum for your business, and a shitload of money in the process. A lot of good things happen when you start embracing what's true, and you start embracing what's real, and you stop this shiny object syndrome of running for the rainbows in the hills like all of the masses do. So I'm going to go into this lesson. I'm going to be real with you. And I want you to be able to use this as fuel in your business to make it through the adversity that you're going to be met with. Title for today, you can write this down. By the way, a great tip for this is write this stuff down, because it's not that you can reference these notes later, but there's a cognitive link between your ability to recall information and the process of writing something down. So the title for today, if you don't have a notebook, grab one, just do it and write this down. Sacrificial lambs. Sacrificial lambs. If you're not a religious person, just so you understand the context of the analogy, is that in the old times they would make a sacrifice of a lamb for basically being forgiven for sin. And ultimately, you can say the same thing is true today in all areas of our life, that you make sacrifices of certain things of value in exchange for what you want on the other side. Sacrificial lambs, write this shit down. About 6 months ago, here's a story. 6 months ago, I hired this kid to work at Traffic and Funnels. And this person was actually a client. He was a past client. And I needed somebody to come in and work in a department of the company for Traffic and Funnels. Which things are growing very quickly today. We're used to it. We hired almost 20 new people in the last month and a half. But 6 months ago, we were kind of just figuring out how to scale without breaking everything. So I hired this kid and came in, started training him. And I really liked him. He was hungry. You know, he was a newlywed. He had been married for about 3 months and they had just moved to a new city and he wanted to make more money. He was working at a financial institution and his hours were horrible and he was only making like $25K a year. And I remember talking to him being like, man, what's your issue? Like, you were a client. Like, why did you accept the job? And he was like, oh, well, I didn't really do anything. I was like, okay, well, let's unpack that. Because now he's looking for a job with us. He came into CK and he didn't implement it and he didn't get any clients. And looking back, I remember I never really heard from him. The team never really heard from him. And he just half-assed his way through this program, which he was in about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, and then disappeared. And so I'm like, okay, well, that's weird. But yeah, let's give you a shot because I like this drive and I like this hustle. And the first day that he was supposed to come into work, he was 30 minutes late because he had to do something at the house. He didn't let any of us know. And I was like, okay, well, you can't do that. Maybe he's just young. You got to do a better job. Obviously, you can't show up late. I had a talk with him. He's like, okay, I'm so sorry. I'll do a better job. Fast forward a week, he messaged me one evening and said he couldn't start until like 10 the next morning because he was taking his wife to breakfast and he was going to be late. I was like, look, dude, what is the freaking issue? This point, I'm kind of agitated with this kid. Like, your first day, you show up 30 minutes late and you blame it on something you're doing at the house. And now you're saying you can't show up till 10. And what's the issue? Long story short, he just says that he doesn't feel right taking this job because he is a newlywed and he really needs to put a lot of his time into his marriage. And he just didn't have the time to work another full-time job. Didn't have the time to work another full-time position. His current circumstance, like I said, is he's working at a place he doesn't like. He's making like 25 grand a year, which is horse shit. And he's married to this woman who's depending on him, but he doesn't have the time to invest into creating a future that he wants. Now, I respected that. I said, that's okay. Take care of your wife. I remember being a newlywed. And there have been so many stories that have come out of the business world of people not prioritizing their families, and they ultimately build success in their businesses and they build companies, but then they lose their spouse and they lose their children. And that is not what I'm after. And you can look at this story a couple of different ways. You can say, wow, this is an example of a young man who's putting his time where it matters and he's taking care of a relationship. You could also say, well, eventually, if his wife is like most people, she's probably going to want a partner who can contribute. She's probably going to want a house, probably going to want to, put food on the table. And hopefully she's going to want a spouse who can provide. But no matter how you look at it, the moral of this story is this kid knew what his sacrificial lamb was. He chose it and he made a sacrifice. And I respected that. I said, look, it's fine. Take care of your spouse. No worries. Have fun. And let me know down the road if things change, when they change. You guys tracking with me so far? So I'm about to drop the bomb on you and make you better. Talking about sacrificial lambs. By the way, this whole story works in reverse. It has zero bearing whether this is a boy, a girl, a man, or a woman. The point for me sharing this story with you is because there's a lesson in it that you can harvest and use in your business. All right, so quick recap. There's this young kid, and he has made a decision to pass up an opportunity. He's made his choice. He's made a sacrifice. He's selected his lamb. And here's the moral of the story, and I want to tie this around, and I want to bring this to home for you and show you how I use this in my life and in my business. You could repeat after me if you wanted to. All right? I am where I am in my life because of how I select my sacrificial lambs. I am where I am in my life because of how I select my sacrificial lambs. The question is not, are you sacrificing? The question is not, should you be sacrificing? The question that you have to answer is, what am I sacrificing and what is it producing for me? Whatever you have in your business, you have it because of the choices you are making and the sacrifices that you are choosing to make. And if you do not consciously select those sacrifices, then they will select you, and ultimately the vision you have on your morning formula, the things you want for your kids, the things you want for your spouse, that will become the sacrifice. If you don't make a conscious choice and you don't select your sacrifices, then ultimately what you dreamed of will become that sacrifice and you will lose it. If there's one thing that I could teach you about how I select my sacrifices, about how I choose what area in my life is going to be cheated in this season, here is the formula. Long-term over short-term. Future over present. And Chris is the same way. You want to know how you can guarantee that what you do will produce fruit. Here's how to do it. You identify what are the results I want in 5 years, not 5 days, not 5 weeks, not 5 months, 5 years. What do you want? You select that. What is the fruit that I want in my business 5 years from now? And you begin pruning and sacrificing and tending the garden and getting rid of all the short-term shit that doesn't matter. It's amazing to me how many people have all of this potential locked up inside of them. How many people have this expertise that literally could change the world? You have no idea the compound effect of what you do ultimately really is, but it's massive. And I think that it would literally make you sick sometimes to look at the actual cost that's happening because you're not selecting the right sacrifices. Just to bring it to home, like if you could help 1,000 clients get free of this addiction that's going to ruin their family, it puts everything you have to go through, all the shit you have to crawl through, it puts it into perspective. 3 things that people pick, 3 things that people sacrifice ultimately that they shouldn't. People choose to do what feels good in the moment when they should do what feels difficult in the moment. I'm grabbing these 3 things from the principle I just shared with you, that you must always select the long term over the short term. Don't sacrifice your calling. Don't sacrifice your potential. People do what feels good in the moment when they should be doing what feels hard in the moment. People do what makes the people around them happy rather than what makes them happy. And people choose what is safer in the moment rather than what is safer for the long run. And in this instance with this kid that I hired, what I hope doesn't happen is I hope that 3 years from now, he doesn't get to a place where he's tired of working a job he hates. He's tired of the same old. And his wife is tired of hearing, I'm almost there. But honestly, there is a track record happening in this person's life where he is not selecting the right sacrifices. He is not prioritizing long-term over short-term. And anytime you outrank the short-term over the long-term, you begin to set up penalizations in your life for your long-term. Am I saying that you can't go on vacation? No, I'm not saying that. Am I saying you can't indulge yourself now and again on something? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying at each point in your life, if you're not literally consciously choosing what you're sacrificing, then your sacrifice is going to be the things that you want. There are going to be seasons in your life when time with your family is going to be cheated. There are going to be seasons in your life when time with your spouse is going to be cheated. It's going to happen. Anyone listening to this thinking, no way, that will never happen to me, or wow, that's so wrong. You have an issue. You're not an accurate thinker. You're not a realistic thinker. You cannot preach about, oh, I want 150 grand a month. Oh, I want 500 grand a month. Oh, I want this. But at the same time, there's going to be no sacrifice in my life to get there. You're an idiot. People like me make fun of people like you. Get over that. There are going to be times when you have to sacrifice something in the short term so that you can get something much better in the long term. And I just feel like I should say this because obviously you see from our, if you follow us like on Instagram, you see us like on, social media, like Chris is a straight up family person. Like he is a family guy. He's got 4 kids and a beautiful wife. Same with mine. Just took my wife to New York City. There's nothing in my world as important as Lindsay. Nothing. But there have definitely been times when I've communicated to her, hey, babe, this is what I want. Are you on board? This is what I want our life to look like 3 years from now. And to get there, we're going to have a little bit less time together because I'm going to be at the office. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. And I think that I'm just kind of brushing over something that might be for another day, but a big, powerful lesson in this is you have to be a communicator. Make sure that the things you are sacrificing, that you're communicating that to the people who matter to you, right? I'm going to go ahead and head that off before I get an email about it. All right, 3 keys from today. Number 1, know what you want. Know what you want and communicate it properly and often. How can you possibly select the appropriate sacrifice in your life if you don't know what you want? How can you possibly know you're going to choose one way or the other? You're going to choose to sacrifice this or that or the other. How can you make that decision if you don't know what you want? And then how can you stick with that decision if the people who are most important to you are not on board? Know what you want and communicate it properly and often. That's number 1. Number 2, short-term safety is an illusion. Prioritize the long term. Think 10 years, not 10 days. Number 1, know what you want and communicate it often. Number 2, short-term safety is an illusion. Prioritize the long term. Think 10 years, not 10 days. Number 3, frame yourself properly for important decisions. Frame yourself properly for important decisions. What do I mean by this? I mean, the easiest way for you to get what you want from the future is to get in the state of mind, get into the frame, get into the visualization, and actually become the person of the future and make decisions from that place. Where we're talking about choosing your sacrifices. You don't want to be in a position where you're choosing your sacrifices based on today's version of yourself or today's version of Andrew or today's version of Ben. And Ben can go live and he can share stories with you. Well, we've talked about this when, there have been times in my life when I have made a decision based on today's version of me and then wondered a month down the road why things aren't growing or progressing or moving. And ultimately it's because I'm making decisions at the level of my current play. I'm not making decisions at the level of my future play. Number 1, know what you want, communicate it properly and often. Number 2, short-term safety is an illusion. Prioritize the long-term, 10 years over 10 days. And number 3, frame yourself properly for important decisions. You're going to be sacrificing something. Make sure that the things you're sacrificing are going to produce the harvests that you want in your business. Cool? You guys are awesome. Adios.